Second grade PLC. Here we are again today, getting ready to actually get started with the through course task today with your students. So I'm going, before you get started, we just have a few minutes, just a few more things we want to talk about with you and to listen to your ideas. And Mr. Cochran?
Yes, ladies, so I know you all met several times informally and within your PLC to discuss the facilitation of the tasks. What TCT did you decide upon and why?
We decided on the germinating seeds.
Okay, why did you all pick that one?
It kind of tied in with our ongoing plant unit we already been working on.
The last time we met, did you guys tell me that was a part of a STEM Scopes unit that you...
Yes, we use STEM Scopes and some other resources.
Okay. So it just seemed like a natural one.
James, have you all thought of anything else that might come up that will really, the kids may really say?
We talked about yesterday how we had already used a science journal, but after working through the task, we felt like it might be better to use just Sam's data instead of the students' own original data. Also, we had talked about some of the wording, like we've worked on multiple meaning words this week. Claim is one of those words that we had worked on. It has multiple meanings, so we need to make sure we address that.
As I was reading through this, I think we could also kind of refer this to other skills in reading that we've been working with. You know, we've been talking about using text-based evidence in our reading. And so right here on part A where it says, you know, make a claim identifying what conditions were needed, you know, we could have them use the data that's given here. So this is like their text-based evidence. So they're going to look at this, make our statement, and then use details from the data to support their answer. And that goes right along with what we were working on in our reading skills.
Back to what Angie was talking about, how we were, the vocabulary used in this. Claim, I think, would be an issue for our kids, but maybe if we just explain that it's a statement. You're drawing a conclusion about the data that we have. Mm-hmm. So they still need to hear those words, but we also need to provide an explanation for them.
So have you all decided to use just this data, this SAM's data, or are you going to let them use their journals as their data?
Well, we looked at our journals, but then after we read Part B, it says use evidence from SAM's data to support your claim or explain why you think the claim is true. So we didn't want to get, you know, we didn't want to take away from the task, you know, when it asked us to go ahead and just use the data that was already given there for us. So we decided to go ahead and use what they gave us.
One other thing that I think might be misleading to the kids is when they initially look at the paper, they're going to see 8 individual bags there, rather than seeing that it's the same bags just over a period of time. So we may need to explain that.
Are you all ready?
On everything that we have learned so far during our unit of plants. We're going to think about the different videos that we watched on the STEM Scopes, and we're going to think back to our plant journals where we discuss plants and the things that they need in order to grow and to thrive and to survive. These are going to be the bags that have gotten the sunlight. Now, on the next activity sheet that you have, this is where you're going to be analyzing that data and you're going to be telling me and showing me what you know. I have my little clip sheet right here, and I'm going to be writing down some interesting things that you guys may have. Or you may say some different questions that you may have, and I want to jot those down on my recording sheet just so I can go back after our task is through and I can look over what you guys said, and this will help me to remember what you guys said. Any questions that you may have. So and if you see me writing anything down, that's what I'm doing.
When we did our activity, we looked at our plants, didn't we? Well, Sam is another second grader, and he grew some plants as well. Sam did things a little bit different than we did. He had 3 seeds in this bag.
Why do you think he left the top of the bag open?
Get air.
Get air. We learned a very valuable lesson with yours.
This is the same bag over and over again. So bag 1 on day 1 with no sunlight. day 3, that same bag. The same bag on day 5 with that bag. So it's not a different bag every time, it's the same bag. We're just looking at it as different. This bag has, yeah. So this is what this bag has on day 1, then day 3, then we check it on day 5, and then we check it again on day 7. Okay. So this is still the same bag, it's just showing you each day.
The ones that do have sunlight, what can you tell me about the patterns there?
It's kind of like coming out of the side of the Steve's face.
Mm-hmm.
And
And it's sprouting which way?
up and down.
Up and down. So what can you conclude by looking at this picture?
If we look right here, these are Sam's 2 bags. He only has 2 bags. That's it. This is his day 1 bag with no sunlight. And this is his day 1 bag with sunlight. Okay? What I also noticed is when we look at part A, Part A tells us to make a claim. And a lot of you were struggling with the word claim.
Okay guys, now that we have already given our task and we've done the analysis on our task, today we are going to do a little discussion of the different things that we saw among our student responses.
One thing that I really noticed whenever I was analyzing the data is the use of the word "or" on Part B, where it says to use evidence from Sam's data to support your claim, or simply explain why you think your claim is true. At first, whenever I went over this and was reading some of the responses, for example, this student put, "I've read many books that say that these are the conditions that plants need in order to, or seeds, need to germinate." So at first I thought, well, that's wrong. They didn't use this evidence from the pictures. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, but then the word "or" there, or just explain why you think it's true. That would almost, that's kind of tricky. So I can see why they would have just put, "I read many books," and they have told, I've gotten information from there.
Now we see that the wording is a little tricky for the kids. So that could have thrown some of our responses off just a tad bit. What's some things that you saw?
Going back to wording, we need to, in all content areas, make sure that we use the word claim, identify, so that they know what it's asking them to do, not just in science, but in all areas.
Mm-hmm.
And apply that, like I was thinking about in math, when they do bar graphs and graphing, they can make claims and identify based on the data given to them. Mm-hmm. So we need to be more prone to do that.
I know, I think in several of the things that I saw on mine, they almost restated what they put in their claim down in their evidence. So some of them were really struggling with making a claim, telling what they thought were needed and then using the evidence to support that. So I thought, looking from this going forward, that maybe in future lessons we can start using some more of this terminology, and making sure, like you said, we are doing this across, the content with reading and math. And I do think we need to talk a little bit about using the data that is given, to them versus prior knowledge.
And their own data. There's a difference in, I collected this data and I can do that, as opposed to, I'm given this data. How do I analyze that? Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I kind of felt like Part B was a defend your claim.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we need to maybe do more. I think they would understand a little bit better if they know they have to defend themselves.
Thank you.